Good morning and greetings from a very, very sunny North Yorkshire. However, is everyone doing this morning?
Really good. Yep. Lovely down here at Southampton too. Good morning, everyone.
Fantastic. Well, I'm just going to start off by welcoming some of you that have joined us on Facebook already. So hi there to Ian. Matt, you know Ian very well. Jane, hi there. Liv, hello, nice to see you. Natalie is with us, Lucy is with us, and Alan is with us so far as well. So thank you so much for you guys for joining us so far. So first of all, I'll just introduce myself and we'll go around and introduce each other. So my name is Lexi.
And I'm Jill. I'm Farah.
I'm Matt.
Fantastic, thank you so much. So today we are going to be talking about one of our favourite countries. Of course we can't have favourites, but this one is high up there on the list. We're going to be talking all about Nepal and the different kind of things that we've all done there, the experiences we've had, some of our favourite memories, and just kind of go through it. So I'm going to start by handing over to Sarah. She's going to kind of introduce Nepal as a destination, tell us a little bit of sort of some facts and figures about the country. So over to you, Sarah.
Thank you. So yes, Nepal does really have to count as one of our favourites, I think. It's one of those countries that people do tend to fall in love with. When they go there, pretty much everybody just wants to go back, and that's a little bit of a combination of the culture, the people, the scenery, and just the whole experience of the trips that we actually do there. So for those that don't know, it's quite a small country. It's a landlocked country, literally up in the Himalayas between India and China. It is home to 8 out of the 10 highest mountains on Earth, which is really what accounts for that spectacular scenery. I don't think there's anywhere else that you just get to see those mountains. Even you don't have to go high up to see them. Even when you're sort of down there, sort of like 2,000 meters or less, you can just see these towering 8,000 meter peaks above you, which is absolutely spectacular. The word Himalaya is actually Sanskrit for abode of the snow, and that kind of speaks for itself, really. All those beautiful white peaks year round, even in a sort of effectively what would be a tropical climate. It's also culturally a really interesting destination. It's the birthplace of Buddha. Currently, it's more a Hindu country, but up in the mountains, it's still mainly a Buddhist country. So you get that mixture of the two cultures, which I think is another aspect that just really adds to its appeal. But that's kind of enough of the facts and the figures. We're going to talk to you a little bit about it. We're going to show you lots of pictures and hopefully sort of just reminisce for those of you that have been there, or infuse those of you who are yet to go. So back over to you, Lexi.
Amazing, thank you. It's just so nice, kind of even just thinking about those small things that you mentioned there, and you know, like you said about the scenery, it's just so beautiful, and you know, culturally, it's a really rich country, and you know, you get such an amazing warm feeling from it. So I'm so excited to be talking about this. Before I kind of carry on, I'm just going to say a few more hellos to some people who have joined us. We've got Sarah joining us, Rob, David, Sue, Maxine, Inglisa, and John has joined us as well. So thank you to you guys for coming along and watching our live this morning. If you've got any questions at any point, if you want to kind of make a comment, then please pop that through on Facebook. We'll be happy to address those with you as we go through. So I guess we should probably sort of start off by introducing our guest here, Matt. Matt, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you? You know, how are you connected to different travel? Introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Hello, my name is Matt. So I used to work on a cruise ship called Minerva, a company called Swan Hellenic with Sarah.
That way.
Was working in planning, and so I worked on the ship. There was a kind of team of like 10 of us called Swans, and what did we do? So we just kind of like,
you put the lanterns, excursions, and yeah.
Where the toilets were, and we kind of count the buses, and we just, so wherever we were, in the world where this cruise ship was, we'd go in and organise the excursions that Sarah would plan. And then, did you need just before it went? I can't remember. It went under. Nothing to do with me.
Or me, I hasten to add.
That was before different travel, and then she needed competent, organised. What we call
tour managers,
tour guides.
Yeah, tour managers.
Managers.
I had thought the trips that she was doing. So she came to me, and obviously then by that point I started up my own company. So I run a footwear company. So I'd gone from doing a lot of travel to doing just sat in an office. So I was kind of gagging to get out and see the world again. So it's been like a really nice relationship where usually once a year she'll put a kind of back signal in the air and say, oh, we need someone to go to Costa Rica or Sahara or what other ones we've done, Great Wall of China, and then I'll go on and then kind of get back into my cruise ship tour guide mode. Which is a really good way of doing it, because obviously if I did it all the time, I think I probably, as I did by the end of working with Swans, I got a bit kind of not lazy, but I kind of started taking things for granted about like what an opportunity it was. So now when I go, I'm just like blown away, and it's just as much an experience for me as it is for everyone doing it. But also I've got first aid trained, and I know I can keep the kind of group together. So my role now, basically, I do these trips. I take, it's usually, how many was in the Nepal one? About 15 people?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
So my role is I meet them at the airport. I'm still a volunteer, but I'm kind of just in charge of making sure everything goes smoothly. So I take them, meet them at the airport, or meet them before usually, fly them out, and then I kind of spend the whole project with them, making sure everything goes smoothly and reporting back any issues and trying to make the trip go better the next time. That's basically what I'm supposed to do.
That sounds about right.
So Matt, I think you took our first rebuild Nepal trip out, didn't you?
Yeah, so this was a really interesting one for me, because usually the other trips we did, it was all kind of fundraising trips. So we did the groups would come and I'd escort them, but we did the which one was it? The Sahara one. That was brutal. But that was, you kind of a trek and you're raising money. The people that were coming had all raised money for their hospice. Whereas this one was the first one. Was it the first of the kind you did in Nepal? I don't know.
It was the first after the earthquake, where we were taking people to actually help. Yeah.
The earthquake there. And it was, wow, mad seeing. How long after did we go? It was about a year, I think.
I can't remember now. Was it a year, or was it even later that same year?
It was in the following November.
Yeah.
So this, like, the devastation there was still so apparent. The buildings were still crumbled. There was still a lot of stuff that hadn't even started to be rebuilt. And so we took a team of, say, about 15 of us to one family right up into the hills to rebuild. Was it a 10-day project?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a 10-day project where we physically rebuilt their home. So the funds these guys had raised went towards building the house.
Mm-hmm.
And this family who were three-generation family, had 3 other kids, all the way from like an old granddad down to these young toddlers. We built them a 4-bedroom home. It was it was a mad thing to do, because it was just, we turned up and it was just not even a builder site. It was just a space, just a bit of land. And then by the end of it, after 2 weeks, there was a home to live in.
And the whole group had financed that, yes?
Yeah, so the whole group, everyone kind of did their whole fundraising at home. Some of them spent like about a year raising all these funds to invest into it. People have been, obviously, a a lot of people have been to Nepal before and been moved by what they've seen from the earthquake and kind of want to do something. And it is one of those things where, when you give money to a charity, obviously it's great to do, but you don't actually see where it goes. You don't see the end product necessarily. But with this, you know, we were sifting the sand out, we were laying the bricks, we were putting the roof on, we were painting it. When you left, it was like a physical thing that, you know, now hopefully some of my work was a bit shoddy, but hopefully that house will still be. Well, we know because they send photos still, don't they? But so this house is standing at the top of this cliff that looks out over the pole. I mean, it's probably nicer than my house. It was massive anyway. But it was probably the most emotional trip we've done, because you're leaving with this thing that you've been part of and you've built, and there's a kind of legacy that this family will have. And I knew that when we did it, because it was so successful, that you'd be doing it again. It was so hot, and it wasn't easy. I mean, it was long days. The digs we were staying in weren't too bad, because some of the trips we've done when you're camping and stuff. This one we had like a little lodge we could stay in down the road. But it was very hot, obviously, and you're working all hours of the day, because you know you're going to be home. You know you've got a finite amount of time. It's not like doing building work in the UK where you go, we'll do it next month. Like, we were there for a finite amount of time, and we had to make sure, we wanted to make sure it was finished by the time we left. Like a bodge job on it, and just say, we'll don't worry about it, we'll just about it. So, and we did it, and we all pulled together. And obviously it put the group under a lot of pressure. There's a couple of little fallouts, but at the end of it, it was a kind of real moment where the family came back and walked into the house, and the grandma and granddad was so sweet. They were crying, and these kids were running around the house knowing that they'd been homeless for a year.
Amazing. Don't you think it's just amazing how much work you can get done in a short space of time with a group of people as well?
Yeah.
At the beginning of the week, you think, my God, we're not going to do that. And then after a few days, you're well on your way.
I think that's the interesting thing as well. You start working out. Like, I've got no building experience. I've got minimal building experience, but there was a couple of guys there that obviously had building experience, and then the others. It was a real mix. Ian, who'll be watching, who is in the autumn of his years, and he was getting stuck right into, what if he couldn't do the more technical stuff, and there was other kind of more labour-intensive stuff to do in terms of carrying or sieving. We had to sieve all the sand for the concrete. So there was once everyone worked out what they were good at, we were constantly working like a little.
There's the job for everyone, isn't there?
Yeah, so it wasn't like a thing where you think, well, I don't have any building experience, so that's not. I can't put a picture, but there was always some lifting for me to do, obviously, because I'm a bit bigger. Or if you look at the pictures, you'll see there was a whole massive age. The age range went from kind of, I think the year was like 22, 22, 23, and Ian, who I don't know how old he is, but he's a bit older. And there was a whole demographic of men and women
in the same,
all trying to pull together to do it. So it's
And there's always somebody who volunteers for the different jobs. There's always the job to fit everyone.
Yeah.
I've been involved in 3 different build projects in Nepal. One completely different from the other 2 was based on the border of Nepal and India, in the most remote village ever, and that was replacing sort of mud and straw houses with breeze block houses. When I say houses, it was just one room, and then I've been involved in 2 school projects just outside of Kathmandu, and it is, as you've just said, the most rewarding experience. And it's a real team builder as well.
And also because that house was amongst others that are trying to rebuild, you can't get in. You're right into the community there, so you kind of make the other people in that village, and you kind of see a whole different way of life especially with no Wi-Fi. There is no Wi-Fi. You see that, you know, you learn a completely different appreciation for what these people have got and how they're living and how happy a lot of them in conditions. When I first got there, I was shocked. It's difficult to kind of get your head around, but then you see these people living their lives and getting on with it and smiling. And it does kind of make you reflect on, you know, what's important, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right.
There's some of the little bonuses we have, because it's right at the top. If you walked a little further, it's about another couple of miles up to the top. You could see to Everest. You could see right off in the distance. So we could go up there for sunrise and sunset. Just sit there, especially sunrise, like at the end of the day when you're absolutely knackered and you see sunset. It was quite a moment.
It's those small things that they stay with you. You know, you're going and doing a really amazing thing, and you're, you know, working really hard and making a real physical difference. But sometimes it's those small moments, like you mentioned, where, you know, you're watching the sunset, or, you know, you're interacting with the local community, getting to know them, you know, and those big smiles. That's one of those things that it stays with you, and it's so special. And there's nothing that beats that.
I think Daula, I've just seen, is watching. Who's the main guy? Who's our guy? Has he done others up there?
Yeah, I mean, Daula's our sort of main guide for the treks as well that we do, which kind of sort of brings us on actually nicely to talk about that side of it, because the reason we originally started going to Nepal was, first and foremost, the amazing trekking opportunities out there, which I'm sure a lot of you watching have experienced. There's so many treks out there, but there are kind of two that we have taken a lot of groups to. Everest Base Camp is obviously one of those, which I think Lexi might talk a little bit about in a minute. And the other one, which we actually do very often combine with a community project, is a 5-day trek in the Annapurna region, which, having done both, that is actually my favourite. The scenery on that one is just the most spectacular scenery I think I've ever seen anywhere. And the chance to go out there and do a 5-day trek and then combine it with a couple of days. In a couple of days, we don't obviously sort of undertake quite such a huge project as Matt's just explained, where, you know, to actually rebuild a whole house or something, but we can still make such a difference, as both Jill and Matt have alluded to, when you get a group of 15, 20 people all coming together for a couple of days, whether that be at a hospice for some of our hospice groups, or a school, or another community project. The difference that you can actually make in those 2 days is quite incredible, and it's the relationships that you form. It's a very different experience. You have your 5 days up on the mountain, or 12 days if it's base camp, where you're kind of literally out there in sort of remote, amazing scenery with sort of very little kind of human interaction other than your team and the guides. And then you get back to the hustle and bustle of Kathmandu, and you're in the thick of it, and you're kind of almost one of the locals for those days, because you're so far away from the tourist trail. You're living life, working alongside these people, and yeah, that's something that's actually quite a nice, sort of complements each other really well. I don't know, Lexi, you've probably got some more to say about the trekking side of it being very much your thing.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, like you say, there's that wonderful combination between the trekking itself, the adventure side, the beautiful scenery, and, you know, spending time learning about the local communities. And I think the Everest Base Camp trek is particularly good for that, as you're trekking day to day and staying in tea houses along the way, and really getting that opportunity to experience the local culture as you're going through. Of course, it is, you know, breathtaking. It is absolutely stunning. You know, you've got incredible mountains around you. Like you said at the beginning there, Sarah, that 8 of the 10 highest peaks in the world live in Nepal. So, you know, you've got that kind of stunning scenery all around you. I'm just going to share some pictures here, so you can have a look and see what you're missing, essentially, if you don't go over to base camp. It is just one of those places that's, I would say magical. I don't use that word lightly, but there's something very special about walking along a trail and looking up and seeing, you know, Everest in front of you, or, you know, looking at Amadablam or Lhotse, and just kind of being surrounded by these 8,000 meter peaks, and you know, this really, really beautiful and remote location. You know, one of the things that, as I said before, that's so special about this is that you get the opportunity to kind of go from different tea houses along the way as well, and meet and spend those nights with the local people, and really kind of get to know things. And of course, you can see on this picture here the the famous flight into Lukla, which is you know, often one of the highlights of the trip for some, and a bit worrying for others. But you know, this exhilarating flight across through the mountains to land on this runway on the side of the mountain, it's quite a magical thing, and you know, a really unique experience. And 12 days of trekking at high altitude, you know, it's a great challenge as well, something you can really push yourself to the limits. You can kind of see what you're made of, you can experience you know, this beautiful environment, and really kind of get a feel for things. So yeah, for me, I love it. I haven't had the opportunity yet to do the Annapurna trek, but that is next on the list. Whenever I get the opportunity, I'll be there. But for now, you know, Everest Base Camp is certainly my favourite, and definitely one that I look forward to returning to at some point soon. So did you want to kind of share between us you know, favourite memories of Nepal, maybe some of the you know, favourite parts of the country, or anything like that? Has anyone got anything they kind of want to add to this?
It's difficult to know where to start. There's just so much. I mean, for me, I think if you had to just pick one thing, for me, it's probably the culture. I just love just walking around Kathmandu or Patan or Bharatpur, any of the places that have just got that, you know, the old architecture, the temples that are still living and vibrant today. Until you've been there, it's really hard to explain, because I know you do have that in a lot of countries, but nowhere is it quite so, I guess, omnipresent and still alive today, I think, as it is in Nepal, and that sort of is still there in the culture and the sort of habits of the people. For me, just sort of going to a temple at sunrise, watching people there going about their business, walking past the homes that have got the offerings, and everything about that, just to me, I think is something really special. I don't know. What about you, Jill?
Well, yes, I think you've said it really. It's the people and the feeling that it's an ancient civilization, especially, you're so aware of that in Kathmandu, how old it is. It's the people as well, because I've only done project trips, and it's the community that Matt's already mentioned. It's being a part of that, which is amazing. And the people on the trip, the people that you're working with and bonding with, it's a real collective thing. And that's what I find the Buddhism quite magical, and the people the people that you meet quite fascinating. Sorry, my phone's ringing in the background. So yes, it's an accumulation of everything. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, similar. Again, I've got some really fond memories of walking around the markets there, and my house is full up of bits and bobs that I bought from the markets I got there, and the food as well was incredible.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned the food, have we?
Absolutely. I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah, some restaurants, just especially before, and the big meal we had at the end after we completed it were incredible. But yeah, like you say, it's a weird feeling once you arrive there. It does feel like you kind of step into another world almost.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And there's something kind of strange about how, particularly in Kathmandu, it's very busy and bustling, and there's loads going on, and there's noise, and there's kind of fragrances, and there's colour, and you know, music and everything like that. But at the same time, it has this amazing peaceful feeling, and you have that kind of, you can obviously experience everything around you, and you know what's going on, and it's kind of crazy, but equally everything just, it kind of feels like you've taken a breath, and it's a whole different experience. It's much more kind of relaxing, I would say, than you would expect when you look at it from the outside. Certainly when you arrive, you know, in Kathmandu airport, it's there's, you know, hundreds of people around, and it's kind of quite overwhelming. And then when you're driving through the streets, and you know, traffic seems to have a mind of its own. It's kind of going everywhere. But once you take that breath and you have that moment just to kind of realize how things are and kind of adjust to the culture, it suddenly just kind of clicks, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, this place is amazing. And from there you just soak it all up, every single minute of it. And certainly, like you said, Matt, the food, you cannot beat it. One of the things that I didn't mention there when I was talking about Everest Base Camp, I can't speak for the Annapurna Trail, but certainly for Base Camp, one of the highlights a lot of people have is the apple pie that you can buy along the trail. Now, I'm sure there'll be a few people watching here that will be able to agree with that. So pop a like in the Facebook if you like the apple pie there. It's absolutely beautiful. Freshly baked apple pie. The smell as you're walking through the trails, into particularly Namche, and there's just beautiful kind of spiced apple and pastry smell that kind of wafts out of these beautiful bakeries is just spectacular. Definitely a highlight for me. And I'll just pop a picture up here so that you can see what I'm talking about. And hopefully you've had your breakfast and this doesn't make your mouth to water too much. But a real treat, when you've had a long day trekking, and you get to stop in for a coffee and a slice of apple pie. It's one of those things. It's a really beautiful highlight. So certainly something that I enjoy. So I'm just going to quickly pop onto Facebook, check if we've had any comments that have come in or any questions. We have quite a lot of comments actually. First of all, Ingalice has said, hello everyone, I have been a few times and it's fair to say I love it, love in capital letters. Thank you so much for that. We've had a comment from Ian, who was part of Matt's team doing the first build project. He says the house is still standing. I've seen it twice since. So there you go, Matt. Your legacy is intact. You have managed to do that. Dayula has joined us as well, and he's commented, Namaste. Everyone, that was a good one. It's 25 kilometers from Kathmandu, near to Nagakot. I've been a couple of times after the build, and the family is so happy and still remembering you all. So again, it's that thing, isn't it, where you have that opportunity to share that experience and change people's lives and make such an amazing difference. So well done to you for touching this family's life. We have a message for you, Matt, from Kirsty. She says, you've come a long way since the Southampton Boat Show. Love your passion. Nepal sounds awesome. So thanks so much.
I was first spotted at Southampton Boat Show by Tony Dyson, who took me onto his ship.
Right.
The ship, different travel. Thanks, Kirsty. Kirsty's been one of my bosses.
Amazing. Just a few more comments here, and then we'll start thinking about wrapping up for the day. So we've got Rob here has mentioned that people are the best part of the trips. That's certainly true. Alan has commented in agreement with you, Sarah, that Kathmandu is so vibrant. Rubia has commented about her favourite thing. Momos is Rubia's favourite thing. I would have to agree with you there. That is definitely a good thing. The question is though, fried or steamed? Which is your preference? Anyone have any thoughts?
Depends on my mood. I don't know.
Fried, yeah.
Yeah, I think fried for me. How about you, Jill? Fried or steamed momos?
Fried.
Yeah.
Fried.
And Alan agrees wholeheartedly. He also mentions singing bowls, beautiful bowls. The singing bowls are fantastic. He says that it brings out the hippie in him, which is wonderful. Liv comments that Nepal is now on her bucket list. We're glad to help you, Liv. I'll take that opportunity to do a little tiny plug for our trips next year. We have 2 trips out to Nepal in 2021. We have Everest Base Camp and the Annapurna Trek with the Hospice Project coming up next year. We're running a special offer at the minute where you can book for just £95 deposit to reserve your place, with the rest of the deposit being paid by the end of August. So if you fancy it, if you want to join us on our next trips to Nepal, get in there quick before the end of this month, and you'll have the opportunity to take advantage of that wonderful offer. Rubia mentions the smell of the apple pie as you walk into Namche, like I mentioned before. And we have also Sange Sherpa has joined us as well. So Sange was one of the guides that I've worked with on the Base Camp Trail. Nice to see you, Sange. Hope you're well. It's fantastic to see so many of you here. Thank you very much for joining us. Does anyone else have anything to add to this? Any kind of final thoughts and opinions on Nepal, why you should go there, anything else?
No, I mean, I think for me, I'm asked so many times by people, because obviously all the treks and all the trips I've done in the 15 years of different travel and working in the travel industry for many years before that, I'm often asked what is my favourite destination, and I can honestly say, from the point of view of the trekking and everything, Nepal is my favourite destination. Yes, there's 101 other amazing experiences out there, but if I just had to pick one, and particularly our Annapurna one as an introduction to trekking, if anybody's not ever done anything like that before, it's quite a, I wouldn't use the word gentle, but it's a nice introduction to trekking. You are in the most spectacular place on earth, but you're staying in tea houses, so you've got a comfortable bed to sleep in, you've got a shower at the end of the day, you've got a nice hot meal waiting for you. It's kind of a nice introduction to the world of trekking, and it was one of my first treks that I probably did, actually, and if I can do it, or if I could do it back then, certainly anyone can do it. So if you're in any doubt, just go for it, because it is the most amazing experience. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I'd second that. I think,
Well said, Sarah.
yeah, there's some of the pictures. I'm sure you can just see kind of the mix between the culture on that you see walking around in the centre in Kathmandu, and then obviously the scenery you get to see when you go up into the mountains. It's like a real, yeah, it's a treat. I think you can put that video up as well that we did from the build that we did after this build.
Absolutely.
That gives you an idea about what.
Yeah, certainly. After we finish the live, what I'll do is I'll pop that in the comments. So if you're interested in seeing how the build went that Matt was involved with, then please do check that out afterwards. We'll get that up for you so you can have a look and see how it all went down and the amazing progress that they made over that period of time. Perfect. Well, I'm just going to start wrapping things up here with one just final comment, or two final comments actually. First of all, if you didn't have incentive enough to join us in Nepal, Dayula has just mentioned that we're considering including a Momo cooking course in our next Annapurna treks. So, if that isn't enough to tempt you, then I don't know what would be. so that's worth considering as well. We also have a wonderful comment or two wonderful comments actually. One from Ingalisa saying she's partially sighted, and if she can do it, so can you. The guides are brilliant. Give it a go. You'll never regret it. Natalie has also commented saying the whole live is to try and persuade you that Everest Base Camp is such an incredible trail. Yes, that is part of the reason we're doing this, but it's also just to shout about the amazing things about Nepal. Just a quick shout out, my mum has just joined, so hi mum, nice to see you. And we're just gonna finish up there. Thank you so much to everybody for joining us today. Thank you for all the comments. We will be back again next week, next Thursday. Sarah, remind me what we're talking about next Thursday.
So we're going to talk a little bit about some of our conservation projects and the links that we've had with various animal-related trips, which I know a lot of you are very passionate about. I am particularly. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that next week at the same time, I believe.
Absolutely, yeah. Looking forward to it. Well, again, thank you so much, Matt, for joining us and sharing your experiences. It's been lovely to chat with you. And thank you to everybody that's joined us on Facebook this morning. And we hope to see you next week. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Bye.